Hi, it's John and welcome to the channel. Great to have you along today. It is the 25th of May, 5:40 a.m. I do have my big blue mug of coffee. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I certainly am. Out yesterday, my wife doing great work in our garden. I put water stain down on the front porch. It looks outstanding. Everything's green here. I hope it's the same where you are. And I got up this morning. I woke up 3:30 early like usual. And I thought I wouldn't do a video today. I think sometimes I feel bad because I focus on negativity. Let's face it, we kind of gravitate towards that stuff on YouTube. There's not so much positive stuff. There's that old saying, it bleeds, if it bleeds, it leads. Well, that is certainly true still. But I got up this morning and I saw two stories that are totally unrelated other than they have a federal connection. Okay, but they're about as far apart as they can be. And I thought, what would be the name of this video? And I think I'm going to call it, haven't made up my mind yet, but The Priorities of the Authorities. Now, the first story, I believe that the Liberal government has a responsibility in what's happening. That would be Justin Trudeau's government and now Mark Carney's government. The second story, not so much, but there is a federal connection. Again, the priorities of the authorities. Now, here's the first story right here. Out of the Toronto Sun, written by Joe Warmington, York Centre MP pleads for Walk with Israel attendees to be kept safe. This is happening this morning, so by the time you see this, this could be over. I hope nothing happens. Turning a blind eye to anti-Israel protesters is going to lead to someone being hurt or killed in the city. Now, I'm not going to get deep into the Gaza thing. I may get demonetized for what I say on this, but I don't care. But I support Israel 100%. There's a famous quote. I've said here before, I like quotes. Here's the quote for you. War is cruelty. There's no use in trying to reform it. The crueler it is, the sooner it will be over. And that was said by William Tecumseh Sherman. I think Israel in some ways has been too restrained in Gaza. I think this would have been over long ago if they'd gone in and really lowered the boom. Now, I'm not going to go any further than that. But I do believe that the Liberal government does not support Israel. Just in the last week, they say, along with France and UK, they will likely impose sanctions on Israel for defending itself. Let's move on in this article. Joe Warmington again. Toronto Sun. Enough is enough. Those were among the many strong words newly elected Conservative MP Roman Baber used to describe the ongoing scourge of threats and violence against Jews in Toronto.
An unprecedented wave of hate crimes is terrorizing the Jewish community across the country. This is true in Toronto in particular, with 3 separate incidents of shootings at a Jewish day school and firebombings of Jewish-owned businesses and synagogues. And with all of that, the leadership of the Toronto Police and Mayor Olivia Chow have largely turned a blind eye. Now, a disturbing protest is planned against the participants of the Walk with Israel, scheduled for this Sunday morning, May the 25th, in North York. Many members of Canada's Jewish community who plan to participate in Sunday's walk are afraid for their safety. Let's be 100% clear. An event where masked protesters can shout and promote violence against Jews, intimidate local residents, and throw smoke bombs is not acceptable, is not peaceful, and is not lawful.
I know this is a really heavy subject, but it's going to get ridiculous in just a moment. Remember, the theme here is the priorities of the authorities. So let's look at this issue that's going on in Toronto today from a federal standpoint. What is the responsibility of the Liberal government? Well, the Liberal government really doesn't speak out against these marches at all. I think a lot of them agree with the other side. Anita Anand made that quite clear when she spoke recently and talked about food distribution in Gaza. I'm not sure the absolute truth on that story. There's a saying, the first casualty of war is the truth, so take it whatever way you want. But I think the federal government under Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney have a responsibility here because they've done nothing to try to tamp down this type of hatred in the streets. Now, I believe you have a right to say pretty much anything until somebody is threatened. And people are getting threatened and don't feel safe because of these weekly marches. Just on Wednesday, 2 Israeli embassy workers got shot down in the street. The person that did it made it quite clear why they did it. And I think it will inspire more people to do these things. I'm talking about these marches. Now, the thing is, somebody else in the recent election was very clear on how they felt about this hate in Canadian streets, but unfortunately, too many people didn't vote for him.
My question is the same one I'm hearing from Jewish voters I've spoken to. With the NDP and the Liberals making their stances known, how will the Conservative government deal with Canada's Israel policy, and what will you do to stop the near-weekly hate marches on Canadian streets?
Thank you. This is a very important question. The rampaging chaos that we see in our streets, the targeting of synagogues and Jewish schools with hate, vandalism, violence, fire bombings of synagogues, these things were unheard of 10 years ago. We've always had debates and disagreements about foreign issues in Canada. But those disagreements did not spill into violence on our streets.
You may say this is a local issue. This is Olivia Chow, the mayor of Toronto. It's her problem. She's more likely to march with these hateful people in the streets on a weekly basis than to do anything about this. She's a far leftist. What's the responsibility of Mark Carney? Well, the fish rots from the head down. I know he's the new prime minister, but it's the same Liberal government. They've allowed millions of people come into our country, many that don't share our culture, our beliefs. They go out and march in the streets. They get useful idiots to do it with them. They yell hateful things. They inspire violence. Mark Carney's not concerned about these. They're happening on a weekly basis. He says nothing. He's more concerned about, well, things coming across the border on the internet. He talked about it in the election.
Large American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. My government will act.
Now we move on to the ridiculous. And I'm not going to go on very long with this. The first part of this, the marches in the streets, have been going on for a year and a half. The second part, it's been going on for months now. And it shows you the priority of the authorities. Now, does Mark Carney have anything to do with this second story? No. But this is your federal government at work here. Apparently, RCMP are monitoring this second story and protesters at the farm because they're concerned about violence. And what are they concerned about? Here you go. Ostriches, the priorities of the authorities. March in the street every weekend and yell hatred and threaten people all you want. But we got to kill them damn ostriches in BC. That's where we are, folks. This is the priority of the federal government. Again, Mark Carney hasn't got anything to do with the ostriches, but it just goes to show you how out of control federal government can be. I mean, even RFK is weighing in on this. Here's an article right here. He sends letter to the head of the Canada Food Inspection Agency. Let's cooperate, study, but do not kill the ostriches in BC. Oh, man, the priorities of the authorities. Apparently, 20% of these ostriches died of avian flu. The rest of them are perfectly healthy. But the feds, they've got to kill those ostriches, and they got to make sure there's no violence. So the RCMP is monitoring the situation. And the hate marches continue on a weekly basis. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you in the next one.